Welcome to episode 31 of The Teacher's Promise. I'm your host, Brett Hansen, and I'm proud to celebrate, inspire, and nurture educators around the world by sharing the inspiring stories of compassionate professionals. This episode, we will be discussing online instruction with some dedicated people who provide one option of high-quality education for students who choose to learn from home or on the road. There are many reasons students and their families decide to join Destinations Career Academy, but they all end up in the same place, a dynamic, student-focused school that meets their unique needs. We will be discussing the pros and cons of online teaching and learning with Jen Wegner, Destinations Career Academy Principal, and Bill Brazier, a business pathway instructor whose wife teaches and both kids attend the online school. So he really sees multiple sides of the issue. This online school is not like what we experienced during COVID, but they certainly know more about this topic than I do. So let's go ahead and hear from them. Well, this week we have a couple of wonderful guests from the Destinations Career Academy, a wonderful online school that serves students all over the state of Wisconsin. And, we're going to dig deep into this idea of online instruction and education by choice. So I'd love to welcome Jen Wegner and Bill Brazier to the show. Jen, why don't you get us started and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you wound up at Destinations Career Academy, DCA, and your educational journey.
Excellent. Well, I am Jen Wegner. I am the principal for Destinations Career Academy. I have only been with the school now. This is my third full school year. And I really landed here after doing a lot of reflection, figuring out what it is that I want to do with my educational career. I actually never thought I would land as a principal, but I think this role was actually made for me and the experiences that I bring to a school like Destinations Career Academy. I was a classroom teacher in a brick and mortar school for 16 years. I've worked for the Department of Public Instruction for 6. I worked with the Madison Metropolitan School District in a number of capacities for almost 10 years, and also worked out in business and industry. And what I love about this particular position is it allows me to bring a number of the skills and the knowledge from almost every one of those opportunities to this particular role to help to grow our school and to grow the opportunities for students within our school.
Wow, that's great. So you have a wide variety of experiences that help you be a good leader.
I try.
Yeah, that's great. What about you, Bill? How did you wind up at Destinations Career Academy or DCA?
Yes, thank you, Brett. My name is Bill Brazier. I'm a business pathway teacher here at Destinations Career Academy. I've been in education for 12 years. Prior to that, I worked in the business world in various capacities. I definitely loved that work in the business world, but there came a point where I wanted an opportunity that was more self-fulfilling, that allowed me to work with students and be an active participant in their educational journey. I went back to school and got my teaching certification, grades 1 through 8, and laterly received my master's of education, and then here at Destinations Career Academy, there was a business opportunity. Went back to school and received my business teaching certification for K through 12. And I am living the dream, definitely working with the students here at the school.
Yeah, and you have a couple of kids, or one or two kids that actually attend DCA. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. Both of my wife and I are children. Abby, 12th grader, and Billy, a 10th grader, both attend Destinations Career Academy. What sets this school apart for them is the academic rigor and just the love and thirst that their teachers have for learning.
Yeah. We'll come back to that later because I'm really curious to hear about, the students' experience. And I mean, it'd be great if they could join us too, but I didn't have enough foresight to ask about that, but this is probably better. But I'm really glad to hear that you are a parent of students that are attending the school because we'll get a little bit of feedback there. This podcast started and focused mainly last year on the issue of compassion and the teacher's promise focus on compassionate education and how that compassion helps educators enjoy their life more and cultivate their happiness. What role does compassion or kindness play in your work? And from now on, when I ask these questions, please, whoever feels like jumping in first, just jump in. Um, so what role does compassion play at DCA?
Bill,
I
I'm
would
actually
say,
going to have you get started with this one.
yeah, sure, most definitely. For me, I would say compassion and kindness really play into the work that I do. It's getting into education. It was very important for me to treat every student with dignity and respect. And I believe so much in that. And I believe it's very important for teachers, myself, to create a harmonious, non threatening environment in the classroom where students feel safe and are willing to take a chance, whether it be in an English class or in one of the business classes that I teach, taking a chance and sharing and reflecting on whatever it is the topic be at hand. And my hope as a teacher is by setting the example as a teacher of bringing these expectations into our classroom norms. The goal is to have the class that is compassionate and kind and really a safe environment for students to share their thoughts. A lot of times, as I'll say in the classroom, uh, we are a wonderful learning community, and having compassion, kindness, and that positive intent is so important. And it's just wonderful as an educator to see the student buy-in, and just watch the whole class grow as a whole.
Yeah, there's no doubt students are much more likely to learn if they feel comfortable, if they feel cared for, if they trust the environment. So that's foundational, wonderful stuff. It sounds like you're doing, Bill.
Well, and that starts in our classrooms, but it doesn't end there. There are great experiences for all students at Destinations Career Academy, but it really does start with each student's story and meeting them where they are. And there isn't a parent out there that doesn't want something for their child, something better for their child than potentially they've had or they've been able to provide them to date. And I think that's one of the greatest benefits of the staff that we have at DCA right now, is that there isn't one teacher that isn't going out of their way to meet a child where they are at, to find out who they are, why they chose DCA, why brick and mortar may or may not have been working for them, what they want to accomplish in their world, what they want to accomplish today and in their future, to be able to find those opportunities to really expand their horizons. It does really take a special educator to get to know their students and to really dig deep, but to not only work with the students, but to work with the families as well. And that, I guess that's the one thing that I am so proud of the staff that we have, is that there, when we talk about kids as far as next steps and how to function in this space with our student population, everyone is all in. I've tried this, I've tried that. What about, does somebody else have a connection? Let's make sure that we're surrounding the student. And we get great feedback from our families about how much our staff really care about
Mhm.
kids. And it has to start there.
Yeah. So correct me if I misheard, but I think you both said that you taught in brick and mortar classrooms before, and now you're educating online. Do you think it's more challenging to develop trust with students who might be reluctant to do that online, or is it easier for some reason?
I actually think that, based on the conversations I've had with many of my staff, is that they would have thought they would have had less than relationships, relationships that were just different or not quite as deep as with their students in brick and mortar, because most of my teaching staff have taught before that, but they're really surprised at the depth of the relationships that they can build with students even virtually. And in many cases, we don't get to see kids faces until they show up for our face-to-face graduation, And so it's really amazing how much those relationships can happen. And particularly when you take away the potential bias, because it's not about what a student looks like, or what they sound like in some cases. It takes away that bias, and you're just trying to get to know the student to help them and to prepare them for the next steps.
Yeah. So you don't, the kids don't have like consistent screen time. I mean, the teachers don't see the kids' faces consistently, or that's not required.
It's not required. There
Yeah.
are students that are on screen and on mic on a regular basis.
Okay.
And we do have students that, for a variety of reasons, are not going to be on mic and on camera in a classroom situation, but they might be with a teacher one on one or in a
Got it.
small group capacity. We want to make sure that, again, it's about meeting kids where they are and what their particular set of circumstances will allow.
Sure. Yeah. That sounds great.
Yeah, Jen, I really like what you said about, the developed relationships with the students, and I could not agree more. And also those unbelievable relationships with the families, the learning coaches on that journey, looking at their students' success as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds wonderful. There does seem to be different types of opportunities. I didn't mind at all teaching online when we had to for COVID. I appreciated the variety and the options and choices. So I'm glad to hear that the students have a lot of choices and that it works well. Um, so I often ask guests why people should become educators today, but I'm going to put a little spin on it with you and ask, why should people become online educators today?
I really think we're at the cusp of what education is going to look like in 10 or 15 years. There are many computer virtual online options that schools are already taking advantage of to fill gaps for their students. As a matter of fact, Destinations is one of those resources that many school districts are currently utilizing to fill gaps where they may have lost a teacher or lost a program, or just need something that they're unable to provide in a small district. But at the same token, we're able to create an educational system that still meets kids where they are, but allows a lot more flexibility. We have students that are national level athletes that travel the country competing and preparing to compete every day. They can't be in a brick and mortar school, but they can do virtual online. We have a number of students that have been bullied in brick and mortar and are potentially also dealing with physical or we have a student that just recently was diagnosed with cancer, and has been able to seamlessly continue their education because they were going to go to school here while also now taking on the need for chemotherapy like 3 hours away from home. And again, that's such a set of circumstances that this particular student and family would have had to potentially stop schooling. And so the flexibility that is provided in virtual online learning, and we have it's amazing just like the connections that the kids will be able to make to the curriculum, to our teachers, and to each other. That is something that you can't always replicate, and you'd think it was easier in a brick and mortar, but for some students it's not, and sometimes it's circumstances, but other times it's really about just the needs that each student have, and we're one of the options that are out there for kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I never thought about traveling athletes, and, I've known for a long time that there are some serious athletes taking a different path, but, that's an interesting twist. I'm glad they have Destinations Career Academy.
I would say for why should people become online educators? I don't think we've seen anything yet. I believe this is just we're just on the tip of the iceberg as far as the growth. And this type of education is the right fit, definitely for so many of our students. I know it's definitely the right fit for me as an educator. I also believe, it's a wonderful opportunity to make an impact and be part of students' lives. We were talking a little bit before about, that those real strong relationships that are developed in the online environment. And the neat part is, really, like Jen said, is really meeting these students where they're at in their educational journey. For my daughter, if I could speak of her, she takes part in our flexible schedule here at DCA with Class Connects, online Class Connects. That's where teachers really enhance the K 12 curriculum and teach it. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, she's able to attend those live teacher-led Class Connects. And Monday and Wednesday and Friday, she can work on homework. My daughter, a 12th grader, Wednesday and Friday, she goes to flight school. So she's out of the house and leaves at 10 in the morning and gets back at about 3, 4 in the afternoon. So for my daughter, it is just a beautiful offer of flexibility and also a great flexibility for teachers in an online environment as well. I know last year my family was able to go off to Florida at the end of January, and if the computer can get there, so can we teach a class.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my son would have liked something like this. He liked his friends at school. He's really smart, but he was bored a lot. And I don't think that's the school's fault. I think it was his situation. But he told us after that he was often bored. He got really good grades. I just think he probably could have done more with his educational time if he had some more control. That's sort of just the way he learns, though.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think that that's true of a lot of students, though, Brett. I don't think that's just the students that are, bored and need a different kind of challenge. I think it's even students that are struggling with school and need some more support. But with an online environment, we can leverage a variety of other platforms and experiences that sometimes brick and mortars are unable to provide. Like Bill's daughter being able to do flight school at the same time as she's taking a full load at high school. So there's just a lot of opportunity out there that we are helping students to pull together just like brick and mortars do, but I think we also have, just a few other opportunities because we're not locked into students being in a seat 8 hours a day.
Yeah. And so one of the stereotypes or assumptions, I'm not sure which phrase is best or which word is best, about online schooling is that it results in a lower level of skill development or, the kinds of things that'll be measured on the ACT or something like that. First of all, I mean, is that true? And if not, how does an online situation compare to a school situation for skill development, test prep, that kind of stuff?
Oh, that's absolutely incorrect. And I'd love to speak to that. First and foremost, skill development, I think we actually do it better. Part of the reason for that is we're really focused. We're not teaching 5 days a week, but we are still getting through content and ensuring that students are gaining the knowledge, skills, and dispositions that are needed for next steps in their lives. But because of the fact that we are so focused and leveraging the time differently, so although we're not teaching to a whole group of students every day, there is work that's being done every day, but then our teachers are available to students 5 days a week to support them, to take their learning to a deeper level. And so then those students that are in need of additional supports can get that, but then those students that are able to go faster or need a different kind of challenge are also getting that. So our students are doing just as well as we'll call them brick and mortar students on the ACT and other standardized tests. And in some cases where students may not have been successful in their brick and mortar, they're finding success with us because it's different, it's more focused, and it's also contextualized through our pathway work that they're learning in a way that there's an interest level. And we're talking about how we do things from the perspective of being a potential nurse or being a potential operating engineer. And how are we going to use these knowledge and skills? And so kids get really connected to the learning because they know that they'll use it again.
Yeah. When I read up on your school and learned some more about it, I really like that idea, this pathways idea. It's almost like a merging of not tracking, but emerging of the standards, the skills, the things that kids need to succeed in college and career with some path that gives them direction. Kind of, it sounded a little bit more like what they do in Germany, but I'm not 100% sure that. But I really like that idea that kids are heading someplace and they get to choose. That's a cool way to do it.
Well, and the pathways are not like a life sentence is the way we like to say it. It's really about finding out what you want to do or finding out what you don't want to do. And students can change pathways. So they might start in our agriculture pathway and go, yeah, no, nope, decided that's not what I want to do. And that's okay. Then they can switch their pathway and try something different. But all of the knowledge, skills, and dispositions, or even the contextualization that's happening in every one of our pathways, there's nothing that isn't going to benefit a consumer either. So even in our healthcare pathway or health sciences pathway, um, just being able to learn about the variety of types of doctors and how to advocate for yourself as a patient and just how to keep yourself healthy and well are really great outcomes, even if you decide that you don't want to do something in a health sciences related field. You're going to take away those skills for yourself
Yeah.
for a consumer perspective.
What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, and I would say for myself as a teacher, skill development. We talked a little bit earlier about the availability of our schedule. Just a plethora of times when we can meet with the students, and that's exactly what I do today. Being Wednesday, 8 o'clock in the morning, I was able to meet with a student. We were able to talk a little bit about some questions that the student had about Microsoft. And it was just the student and I in a one-on-one class connect. We met from 8 o'clock until 8:45. The student left um, uh, with an awareness and an understanding of the skills that we spoke of. And one of the neat things as well is with some of these one-on-one interactions with students, they're very upfront and honest. If there's a gap, a learning gap, where they're not understanding something. And the neat thing is to really, hone in on uh, the transferable skills, and not only, making sure that the curriculum is being understood, those skills, but also helping in developing, a student's transferable skills, and really, meeting them where they're at. If it's something that's could be a challenge for a student, maybe to public speak. Trying to create that safe environment. Maybe working with the learning coach. Maybe having something that the student presents later on in the semester, or maybe it's that student that has really already developed that skill of public speaking. Maybe having that student in a breakout room when we have class connects, being a group leader and really putting those skills, those transferable skills to work.
Yeah. So is DCA a project-based learning path?
Yes.
Uh, could you tell us a little
Simple
bit about
answer.
that? Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit how that works for students, say from a student's perspective?
I'm going to have Bill take this one.
Yeah, sure, most definitely. Project-based learning is such a wonderful thing that's really built right in to our curriculum, our K-12 Stride curriculum. If I could use the example of one of our classes, a computer literacy course that I teach, one of the objectives is to use and become aware of the functionality of Microsoft Word. Um, and not only being aware of the functionality of Microsoft Word, but those skills that the students can definitely develop as far as collaboration. That's so important. That communication, those critical thinking skills that those students are reflecting on, as well as the creativity. So, for example, project based learning, we were to make a flyer. We had some guidance from K 12 to make a flyer for a humane society. Some students chose. That's the way they wanted to take that project. Some of the students worked in a group with other students. Some students worked individually. Um, and the one thing, as well as so many of the teachers do here at Destinations Career Academy, is kind of make some of these projects, if you will, open ended. What is relevant to the student? What is the student interested in? So a lot of those students didn't do projects according to our K-12 curriculum, is that Humane Society flyer. They did things that were of interest to them, whether it be maybe somebody's interested in cosmetology, making a flyer about cosmetology, and including all of the different aspects that our curriculum is asking the student to include, showing their knowledge and demonstration of Microsoft Word.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of project-based learning. I try to integrate it into my classrooms, although our school is not primarily a project-based learning, but it's open to teachers doing mini projects and things like that. So, but I'm glad to hear it's working well there. Now, you both have spoken eloquently and wonderfully on DCA and online instruction. Can you give us maybe some of the cons, both for the educators and for the students? What are some of the downfalls of the online learning system for people who have chosen to do it?
I think one of the cons can be that it may not be quite right for a particular student or their set of circumstances. And in sometimes those cases, we do have to help them to find a better schooling option. I think that's also a negative from the the educator's perspective, because we do want this to be successful and we want to be the right choice for every student, but sometimes we're not. Sometimes online and virtual is not something that every student is ready for. But I also believe that what we can provide from an online perspective is going to mirror what students are going to see as adults at the technical college or the university level. All of the universities and colleges now have online learning systems that they deliver much of their content through the same way that we do. And so it's never a bad experience for students to try it on for size, but they may not be ready for it yet. And then we have to help them to find a better option for them at that particular point. And sometimes it's hard for our teachers as well. I think the Another con is just the you have to be a little bit dedicated to this work. We're gonna definitely follow kids, and we're gonna be there to support them, and we're gonna make sure that there's a safe landing for them when they're ready. But to find their way to be a little bit more independent. Yes, we still do remind kids when they've got overdue work and things like that, but it's just different. They have to be a little bit independent as well, and their learning coach or their family members at home hopefully are also supporting this particular work. I've been really lucky to hire phenomenal staff that I haven't seen a lot of the cons of potentially losing a staff member because this wasn't quite for them. Um, I think it's just a matter of we hire very, very well, but we kind of dig in with staff members to know what their interests are and how they want to benefit students. And the biggest con is just really all of our platforms and things too, and the technology. You've got to be willing to dig into the technology and learn it, and be able to turn it upside down and make sure kids can also access it. I think that's probably one of the bigger cons from a teacher's perspective. Bill's probably the best one to answer that.
Yeah, I would say one of the cons that I see for students first coming into the school would be the time management. When they're taking part in their schooling here, there's no bells and whistles going off. They really have to have that independence. But it is a beautiful journey to watch them develop that skill of time management, and whether that goes to the four E's of the enrollment, if they're going to go off to college. What a great head start they have in that journey after school or tech school. enlistment. Some of our students go off to the militaries, and what a great skill in time management that's being developed. Employment, these all hit right to so many of the teachers' classroom norms here at the school. That there's expectations there with time management for employment, and exploration. So it definitely, time management can be one of those cons, but it's a wonderful thing to see the students develop and get better at that. One other thing I would say is, and this is just kind of on a family note here. I know one of the factors, as I said earlier, for our two children, my wife and I, Abby and Billy, joining the schools, was the academic rigor. That's why they wanted to stay here with Destinations Career Academy. It was a little hard decision because one of the cons are the athletics. Most resident school districts do not allow students that live within the district to participate in high school sports. I know my son, baseball player, did a lot of pitching, playing shortstop while he was, going up the ranks in his K-12 education. But then at high school, there's that kind of ceiling, if you will, that now stands out there for, with some of the resident districts. I know for my daughter, she played basketball, but it would be neat to see, students that attend this type of environment still be able to take advantage of some of uh, those sport opportunities within their districts.
Yeah. I'm surprised that I understand. I can imagine the reasons why, but it surprises me a little bit that perhaps some people haven't fought for that right to participate in sports. But
You'd
I
be
don't know all the
surprised.
complexities. Yeah.
No, there's some legislation proposals that are out there that can help in this particular arena. You really have to equate it to being a homeschooled student, right?
Right.
This is kind of like being homeschooled, and a homeschool student can participate in the local resident school district's athletics. So there is some advocates for not just DCA in our sister schools, but there's over 100 charter schools now in the state of Wisconsin, and so this impacts a lot of students that we would love to be able to see still have those opportunities if they would like them.
Do either of you know like the main reason? Is it because of the money? Because the schools don't get the state funds? Is
In all
that why?
honesty, I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
the rationale there. I think actually the main reason originally was likely around stacking the deck a little bit.
Yeah.
But as long as you have to stay within your resident school district, um, although all of our students, because we're authorized by the McFarland School District, is technically all of our students across the state are McFarland School District students, technically.
Right.
But you can't participate in McFarland's basketball team if you live in La Crosse or Superior. So, that's a non it's really a non-entity, or it's not the main issue. And I think that there's just a lot of misnomers around that possibility when you're talking about a virtual charter school.
Yeah. Yeah. I would think that would at least be challenged, as you just said it is. I mean, soon, because it seems more like the homeschool situation. But um, so we're getting closer to the end of this episode. What advice or support would you like to share with other educators? And this can be non-online educators, things you want to tell them, or people who are maybe considering becoming online educators.
Well, I think the biggest thing I'd say if you have an interest in being an online educator is jump, do it. Um, you'll never have a better opportunity to see what this is like until you actually do it. You can look at this from the outside in and never really experience it. And even the opportunities that most educators in the state of Wisconsin had during COVID, I would say it's not exactly even that. Many educators will interview and say, "Well, I've done online teaching. I did it during COVID." But doing it for a period of time, but doing it perpetually is very different. And a lot of school districts during COVID, it was, dare I say, a less than experience, right? Because everybody was kind of doing it on the fly, not exactly sure, nothing was prepared. Um, the good news during COVID for all of the students at DCA and our sister schools is that it was it, basically status quo. Nothing changed. We still were able to keep the level of rigor, the number, the amount of skills, knowledge, and dispositions that were transferred to students. Nothing was a less than experience. And I think that there's a lot to be said for being an online educator. And although I'm in a principal position, I am impacting students' lives every single day, and it's palpable when parents call and they're in tears because somebody is finally making a difference with their student when no place else that they've ever been has been able to make that difference. We've been able to do that, and those conversations are just so poignant for us. You have to try it to actually know the impact. So I would say jump, and happy to talk to anybody who's interested in this type of work.
Yeah. So is it destinationscareeracademy.com to contact you?
It's actually DCA WI .k12.com.
Okay.
And all of my contact information is on the site.
Great. What about you, Bill? What advice would you share?
Advice with educators or up and coming educators: be an active participant along with the students. It definitely makes it so enjoyable. Celebrating the small steps with the students and their families, being a cheerleader for the student, and being a compassionate listener to the student and families. I find that to be such a if you will, such an easy task to do, but it's so important to really just be a good listener, let the families, let the student talk. And, really, as we've said, meeting the student where they're at. If we're doing a lesson in business and maybe it's going through math, we may have to take a couple steps back so there's an understanding of some different concepts, but meeting the student where they're at. And most importantly, definitely enjoying the journey of an educator. It is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it definitely does sound like a wonderful thing at your school. Anything else you want to share that I didn't ask or we didn't get to? Any topics at all that you'd really want people to know about?
I think that's the toughest question you've asked, Brett. I could talk for hours about DCA. I think we have a wonderful offering for students and educators alike. And I think it's just about trying it out. But people just don't always want to take that leap of faith because it's different. It's a change, but it's so worth it on the other side. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
We definitely have a differentiated approach, and so many families are so thankful that this is a schooling option in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, I bet they are. I'm glad it's an option too, because there's certainly a lot of kids that don't like being in brick and mortar schools and would love to have a lot of that anxiety relieved. So thank you very much for what you do. And this is the part of the show I love the most, when I get to thank the educators. So Bill, thank you very much for giving kids these chances, giving them chances to grow and to change and to connect with them. And thank you for creating a safe environment and leaving the business world, where I'm assuming you got paid a little bit more, and coming over to the education field, because we really need dedicated people like you. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for creating an atmosphere where people can expect to be heard, that listening is so important, and for celebrating the small steps and advocating that for other people. And Jen, thank you for noticing each kid's story, for really looking for the positive and envisioning a different future for them by helping to nurture and create these pathways and offering a different option. Thank you for fighting for all kids and for leading this transformational change in our society that really is needed and going to improve public education in America for everyone. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for being on the show, and thank you for being educators.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Brett.
Yep. What a great option for our kids. This school and these educators clearly focus on meeting the needs of specific students. And although most kids probably need a brick and mortar experience, that doesn't mean all kids do. So, special thanks again to Jen and Bill for joining me and for sharing their wonderful perspective on their school. And thanks again to you for listening. Please remember to visit HansonEducationServices.com to learn more about our classes, services, publications, or to sign up for our newsletter. And please join us again next time when I provide an update on the teacher shortage situation and how it's changed in the last year. In order to fix this difficult situation, we need to understand the whats and whys today and at least plant some seeds with possible solutions. Finally, please remember that you must take care of yourself in order to take care of others. And sometimes that means tackling difficult issues and making difficult decisions. Your health and happiness are important too. Until next time.